Welcome to West Bend, Wisconsin, where we are enjoying a beautiful late summer afternoon. Not many of these left here, gentlemen, so we'll enjoy it today by bringing you some awesome news. We are coming to you live from the R&D Test Center here at Gehl headquarters, where so many of the Gehl products that you know and love have gone through extensive testing to meet the demands of the hard work you do every day. And that's what we're here to talk about today, the work, and more specifically, the way that your jobs and your expectations of equipment are changing and evolving. And to put it simply, it's all getting bigger. Bigger jobs, more responsibility, and the size of the equipment that you are demanding as an industry continues to get bigger each year. Work is getting bigger. Gehl has been meeting these needs from agricultural equipment to construction equipment since 1859. Not far from here, in a small blacksmith shop, Gehl started as an iron foundry to build tools that supported the hardworking American farmer. And now, more than 160 years later, the company that was founded then still provides equipment to hardworking communities around the globe. It's in that spirit that we are here today to launch the all-new lineup of large frame Gehl skid steers and CTLs. How big? Real big. These 3 skid steers and 2 compact track loaders carry on Gehl's legacy of innovation in skid steer and track loaders, with a focus both on new technology and building you machines that are bigger, stronger, and more powerful to address your work demands every day. These machines do that in a big way and put the rest of the industry on notice that Gehl is a major player and leader in skids and CTLs, more than 50 years after getting into that market for the first time. We've brought some friends with us here today to celebrate this launch, arguably one of the industry's most foremost experts on skid steers and CTLs, Mr. Nathan Ryan, to tell us how Gehl has risen above the competition with these new models. We'll also have Tyler Handel, head of R&D here at Gehl, share with us the insight on how Gehl blended historically proven designs with modern technology. Thank you for joining us here today, Tyler. And a special guest that will join us here in a bit. You may recognize him from his work as the host of In the Mix with Marvin Joles. He's the owner and operator of Wiscoat Asphalt Maintenance in Lone Rock, Wisconsin. And he's a lifelong Gehl owner and operator, the one and only Marvin Joles. Marvin, thank you for joining us this afternoon. For people who might not know who you are, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Good afternoon, Bill. I'm Marvin Joles over on the west side of Wisconsin. I own Wiscoat Asphalt Maintenance and Paving. We do everything in asphalt.
Thank you, Marvin, and it's no accident that you are here today. I saw a great video on LinkedIn one afternoon of you teaching your wife how to operate the classic Gehl T-bar controls. And in talking with you, come to find out you're a lifelong Gehl user. Tell the folks at home a little bit about your history with Gehl.
Yeah, so I started paving while I was in high school and fresh out of high school, and used the T-bar Gehl kind of right out of the gate, and that's what I grew up on, so it's what I knew. And once I got the hang of it, it was not too bad to grade some driveways with and grade some parking lots with and get going. And we currently have a Gehl, and same kind of thing. As you said, I taught my wife in one of those videos of how to use a T-handle, and by the end of the day, she was doing great.
And Marvin, we're gonna bring you out here for the live Q&A here in a little bit. I don't want to spoil any of your feedback at that time, but could you give us just a little bit of a tease of your initial responses and feedback to these new machines?
Yeah. So obviously it's a major upgrade from what we had. It's really nice to have the enclosed cab and to have everything moving really fluid. And I think that's the biggest thing, right? Is I kind of explained a little bit earlier, is it just feels like I'm almost in a video game with it, man. It reacts so well and so nice, and all the features and functions are really easy to understand and get on the job with. So I really enjoy it.
Thank you, Marvin. It looks like you're still out on the job site. We're going to need you here in just a few minutes for the live Q&A. You better wrap it on up and head this way.
Sounds good.
All right, so now before we really dig in to the event here today, some housekeeping to go through. This is a live event, and there is that Q&A that we've been talking about that'll take place here at the end of the presentation. There's a Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. Please feel free to ask questions throughout the event here today, and our panelists will join us here at the end of the event again to answer those questions. And if you've got a question that we're not able to answer during the course of today's event, we'll follow up with you. The appropriate Gehl expert will follow up with you after the event. Whether you're a Gehl customer, a dealer, an operator, or a farmer, thank you for being here. These 5 new models represent the next big leap in skid loader and CTL technology from Gehl, and we think that you will be impressed with what you see here today. All right, let's get this started the right way. Nathan, that's with you, big guy. We are going to talk about each of the 5 new machines. So we've got 3 skid steers, 2 compact track loaders, the range and operating capacity from 3,250 up to 3,600 pounds. So Nathan, we're going to start here with a fairly simple game of true and false. These new machines in the Gehl lineup match or exceed most comparable machines in this large frame category in rated operating capacity.
That's going to be true, Bill.
Each of these new machines in the Gehl lineup match or exceed the competition in terms of breakout force both at the bucket and in the lift arms.
And that's another true on this line.
And each of these machines match or exceed the auxiliary hydraulic power of most of the competition in this large frame category.
For the most part, it's true. There's obviously some variation from model to model amongst the competition, but when it comes to hydraulic horsepower, we beat the majority of the people in the market, as well as when it comes to hydraulic flow, we're producing some of the highest hydraulic flow amongst the competition as well.
So we really talked here at the beginning about power and size and strength, and Gehl really put the intent into making these big and powerful machines. Why is that, and why now? Why was the right time? Why was this the right time to go big like this?
Well, Bill, right now, the industry trend wants it, plain and simple. They have been pushing towards larger skid steers and CTLs with more capacity and more attachment capabilities. These machines deliver on both of those.
And why are we introducing, larger, more powerful skids and CTLs? Why aren't we just telling people at some point you've got to go to a larger style of equipment?
Well, even as these skid steer and compact track loaders get bigger, they're still in a relatively compact footprint. Compared to other product categories, they're easy to transport. More importantly, operators are familiar with how to use them. So we give them what they want. We give them a machine they're familiar with increased capacities.
And in terms of that rated operating capacity, Nathan, we can actually even get higher than that 3,600 pounds, can't we?
For almost all of these models, you can add counterweights to them, which bring you up to a 3,800 pound operating capacity. Not only does this increase the rated operating capacity, but it also adds protection to the sides and the rear of the machine.
The new product line features hinge pin heights up to 136 inches and a vertical lift path. Each of these machines has that vertical lift path. Looking at these designs here, why did Gehl go with that vertical lift path versus radial?
Well, the vertical lift path machines are built for loading dump trucks, reaching further into the beds of those trucks, and loading palletized material. So the vertical design helps with all of those three, as well as provides greater visibility around the sides of the machine due to the structure of the lift arms and their linkages. And the old narrative itself around radial lift arms being the best at ground engagement work, there's a little bit of truth to that, but the difference is far less than it used to be. And these machines lead many in the industry in breakout forces, as you mentioned before.
And I feel like we really need to focus on attachment performance. We see a grapple bucket there, but over here at the real impressive forestry unit, we've got a pretty high powered mulching head on the front of that. These machines are built to run those high power attachments like mulchers and cold planers. We've really focused on making these machines compatible with those attachments. Why is that?
That's right, Bill. On these machines, we really focused on the auxiliary hydraulic capabilities and versatility. If you look at the hydraulic horsepower for both standard flow or hydraulic flow, we exceed most of the competitors in this class. We also beat a lot of them in the actual pump flow itself, so gallons per minute. So this all helps power those bigger, more powerful attachments. And as we know, it's equally important to harness that hydraulic power both from an attachment performance perspective and from a fuel efficiency standpoint. So we've added the ability to variably control the amount of flow going to the attachment. This helps the attachment work to its optimal performance and makes the machine only work as hard as it needs to, which saves you fuel. We've also built an adjustable creep mode into these machines that includes a boost pedal there as well for attachments like your cold planers and brooms, where you want to match your ground speed to the attachment performance. This is important because otherwise you're limited solely to the speed of the attachment as dictated by your engine RPM.
So Nathan, you have been in this skid steer CTL game for quite some time. You've seen the evolution and the changes to these machines through the years. As you look at these new machines and everything about them, what do you think is going to stand out most, not only to people who have traditionally owned and operated Gehl machines through the years, but skid steer and CTL owners in general?
It's important to remember that this is not just a product update. It's not another new coat of paint being thrown on our current product. It's a modern, ground-up industrial design incorporating Gehl's decades of loader knowledge with Gehl exclusives and features that boost productivity, comfort, and controllability. Tyler and his team really did a great job on this project. The cab itself on the new large frame loaders is 23% larger than past models, making it one of the largest cabs in the industry. The new patent pending lift arms that you see here and the roof combined also with larger windows create 23% better visibility for the operators. Additionally, the robust and reinforced vertical lift arms with cast steel timing links provide superior breakout forces during ground engagement and excellent dumping heights. At the rear of the machines, the lift arms carry forward Gehl's vertical lift arm concept with reduced overall height and a narrow crossmember providing unparalleled visibility to the rear of the machine. And if that doesn't meet your visibility needs, we also offer a rear view camera as an option, which is incorporated in the monitor in the cab itself to assist with visibility and meet all of your needs. Another huge point on these new loaders, we've made the industry-leading patented IdealTrax tensioning system even better with the ability to adjust the track tension from within the monitor in the cab. We've also added dual flange idlers at both the front and the rear of the undercarriage and triple flange rollers to provide worry-free day-to-day reassurance that the tracks are going to be tensioned and they won't detrack while you're on your job site. All the lights on the new loaders are in high-intensity LEDs, both the front, rear, side work lights, beacon, and optional road lights. That makes the machine visible from anywhere on your farm or job site and provide you with 360-degree visibility for an operator in low light conditions. And many of these features, and even more, such as ride control, our telematics system, bidirectional auxiliary hydraulics, your IdealTrax track tensioning system, 2-speed drive, and bucket self-leveling are all standard to simplify the ordering and deliver a world-class leading operator experience.
We're gonna get into some of the true design elements of these machines here with Tyler in a couple minutes, but while I've still got you here, Nathan, I wanna take a little bit of a deeper look here in the cab itself. It is a big and impressive cab. What do you think are some of the things that an operator who sits down in this machine for the first time is really going to notice about how they experience the machine?
Bill, from the minute you step foot into the cab, the operator is going to get the feeling that this loader is not like any other loader they've ever operated before. And that starts with the overall door size on this loader has been increased. The threshold has been lowered 3 inches. This particular model features our Ideal Access folding door, which allows you to operate the machine with the door in the open or closed position. But then once you're seated in the cab, they'll be able to appreciate the different seat options we offer: cloth, vinyl, heated. You also have different suspension options. And your pilot operated controls all move with that seat, which is a Gehl patented feature. If you look down by your feet, you're going to find a footwell that's bigger than any other on the market, as well as a patent pending feature at the lower right hand corner, which is a removable plug, so that if you have any stone or dirt build up in the footwell, you can simply wash it through the bottom of the footwell, through the bottom of the machine, and out on your shop floor.
That's one of those things that you see and you say, how has someone not done that before in the way you've done it? And it's simple, but it's actually really impressive.
It became one of our voice of customer feedback focal points. And so we had to come up with a solution that nobody else in the market had thought of yet. Additionally, in the cab, I mentioned you have your pilot controlled joysticks, which give operators a true one-to-one feel when they're operating the machine. It's definitely the preferred operating system by operators, even at this day and age with electric hydraulics. We have a 2-piece split lap bar, which even allows operators of various sizes to feel very comfortable within the cab. And then, like we talked about earlier, you have your bigger windows, the slope roof minimizing your cross section at the top of the cab, and the sloped arms, so that when you're sitting in this machine, you're going to get a feeling like you've never had sitting in a compact skid loader or track loader.
The visibility is really impressive, and I think particularly when you sit in that forestry unit where you've taken out some of the different transitions and the grates, and you see just clear view through a clear, obviously impact resistant windows on that machine. The visibility on these machines is really unlike almost anything I've ever seen.
Yeah, on our Forester cab with the side impact windows, there are no grates, and we meet all of the ISO and SAE standards with those windows, and there's nothing to see except for the work that you're about to start.
So Nathan, I know that this is also a one-piece sealed cab. Tell the folks a little bit about that.
Yeah, so some of our previous designs incorporated kind of a shell design, and with this one, we've really tried to keep as much noise and dust out of the cab and away from the operator as possible. So what you have is a completely sealed, welded, pod design cab with with the removal of a couple of bolts at the front here of the cab. The entire thing pivots up 60 degrees, and you have complete access to underneath the entire cab, all the way back to the firewall to the engine compartment.
And that's a brand new 7-inch monitor in this machine. Tell the folks a little bit about what they'll find in that new monitor.
So that new monitor, it has the appearance that it looks new because we've removed the bezel on the outside, and you do get less glare reduction, and it has a little bit sharper image. But it's still a 7-inch color display, video capable, just like in all of our other machines. But with that bezel removed, you can really wipe off the flat surface for cleaning purposes. It's a lot easier to maintain. And we'll be rolling that out on our medium frame loaders this fall as well.
And then, you know, just an observation as you sit in it, you know, the influences from the automotive industry are clearly having an impact on new machines every day. Tell us a little bit about some of the what back in the day you would call bells and whistles or creature comforts, but now you almost come to expect them. What are some of the features that really stand out to this machine?
So you have to be careful when you're designing off-road construction equipment, because the trend is to move too close to automotive and make too many things that can break. So it's a careful balance of making a machine that's easy to maintain, clean, robust, and still has a very comfortable feeling for the operator. So we've done that in here where you get a nice sealed look that's cosmetically pleasing, but we don't throw extra foam or plastic in here that's just going to accumulate with dirt and dust. And then you speak about the dirt and dust that these types of machines see on a job site. We've switched all controls in this machine to a sealed keypad on the right-hand armrest. The keypad has several patent pending features within it, such as intuitive lighting. So when you sit down, the button to start the machine starts to blink in the operator's face. If you have options installed, they will backlit white. So if you have a high flow option, you see a white icon on that keypad. If you do not have that option installed, you will not have a backlit on that button. So operators know immediately what the machine is equipped with, and when you push it, you get a green backlight to indicate that it's been activated. Additionally, the keypad features a smart throttle, which senses how fast the operator is turning the throttle and will move non-linear from low RPM to high RPM, so that maybe you only take a quarter turn very quickly to get to high RPM versus turning it very slowly 360 degrees to get to high RPMs. So a lot of thought, a lot of innovation within the cab.
And even as we're standing here, you mentioned a little bit about the ease of getting into it with the lower threshold. One of the things that impressed me is I believe this is that level 2 FOPS design with the lights built into the protection there itself. That's really smart, really effective. You see here your Ideal Access fold-up door, and we see it on the forestry unit over there. You've added a couple of additional door options in addition to that fold-up door. What are those options here on this machine?
So some people haven't completely transitioned to the innovation found in the Ideal Access door. So we of course still offer a traditional swing out style door. With our design, you can see the gap here. With our door compared to traditional swing out doors on your competitors is going to be amazing, because you can raise the lift arm almost 14 inches. It doesn't have to be sitting flat on the ground to allow you to get in and out with that swing out door. And then the other door option that we have on these models is a swing out impact door, which is about a 1/2 inch thick, maybe 5/8 inch thick, a poly door that swings out and meets impact standards. Both of those, the impact door and the FOPS level 2, can be found as part of our site preparation package, which also includes some of the features you'll see on the larger track loader in the background here.
Well, thank you, Nathan. That was great. And I'm sure we've got a bunch of questions here ready for you in a few minutes. Stick around. We'll be right back with you. I want to take a minute now to talk to one of the leading voices here at Gehl behind the design and innovation in this machine, Mr. Tyler Handel. Tyler, thank you for being here, sir. And when you look at these machines, They are very impressive. They look good, not that it's all about looks, but they look great. But all of this design, all of this innovation, let's start with the lift arms here then. Tyler, very distinctive. What is the thought that went into the design of these lift arms on these machines?
So there was a lot of intentional thought put into the lift arm design in these new machines. So it's all about visibility. So we've started by adding the taper to the lift arm to improve the sight lines to the ground, but we've also widened the lift arm section to shorten up the overall depth and give the operator better visibility underneath as well as above the lift arm. On top of that, we also really focused on the hydraulic routing through the lift arm. So all the hydraulic hoses actually route inside the lift arm structure for added protection and durability in the most extreme environments.
I've always wanted to say this, Tyler, but wait, there's more. There's even a few other real practical benefits that this arm design provides.
Yeah, so one of the new features of the new lift arm design is our hydraulic cylinder cushioning. We've added new dampening to our cylinders at end of stroke to really improve the operator comfort. So as the operator comes to the end of stroke, it's going to reduce the shock load that the operator experiences at the end of stroke, both at the top and bottom of lift. I think it's also worth noting that we've redesigned these new large frame loaders with a load sensing hydraulic system to ensure maximum performance and efficiency. The new system provides the operator with the speed and power they demand from each function, improving the responsiveness of the system, but also ensuring that you only use the energy necessary to complete the task at hand, which in turn lowers fuel consumption and overall operating costs for our customers. We know these large frame loaders are utilized in versatile tool carriers, and we have designed this new hydraulic system in these large frame loaders for the most demanding applications, achieving almost 40 gallons per minute of hydraulic auxiliary flow for those demanding attachments.
And Tyler, there's also specific thinking that went into the unique contouring of the roof. Tell folks at home about that.
That's by design and also unique to Gehl. The cab has a sloped forward roof that's focused on shrinking that front cab cross member. Combine that with an extra large skylight, and these machines are ideal in combination with the vertical lift arm design for truck loading applications with both a bucket and fork.
This thing, I had the pleasure of operating this particular machine with the mulching head in the lead up to this launch. Really impressive performance, chewed through things like you wouldn't believe. This site prep package you guys have put together is real impressive. And when you come back to the back of the machine here, I think there's some obvious benefits we see in addition to the real beefy protection here of that site prep package. But you can tell that there's been real thought put into not only visibility to the back of the machine, but also access to important things. Tell folks at home about what they're seeing here at the back end of the machine.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe I can even open this up for you.
You know, you'll see even with the rear lift arm cross member here in the rear of the chassis, you know, that was designed with intent not to impede visibility to the back of the machine. So you'll see it's got a very horizontal or flat profile in order to improve visibility out the rear window. Even the timing links on this vertical lift arm design were designed and shaped to improve the visibility during truck loading and provide the operator clear line of sight to their surroundings. And we've been able to further improve visibility, improve machine access with that sloping rear hood. The angle makes it easier for the operator to see more behind the machine, and we've really focused on service and maintenance by incorporating a toolless flip-up radiator here in the back to improve access to critical service points, radiator cleanout, and all the daily service checks and routine maintenance points have been centrally located at the rear of the machine, as you can see here.
All part of our effort to lower the total cost of ownership of these machines.
Yeah, for sure. The easier you make it to perform service, the more likely it is to be performed. So yes, we're making service easier to ultimately help you reduce your downtime and improve the overall performance and reliability of the machine. And that goes for greasing too. We've placed grease zerks conveniently throughout the machine with direct, easy access to make it easier and more likely that greasing takes place daily. Again, to ensure the uptime of the machine.
Tyler, I've seen at various points throughout the machine QR codes. What are those QR codes going to tell people?
Yeah, Bill. So those QR codes are for the owner and operator or the fleet manager. They can scan those QR codes for important information and documentation related to that specific machine. So you can get your operator's manuals, your parts manuals, the details specific to that machine configuration.
So Tyler, the more and more we talk about these machines, I'm beginning to pick up a theme here, which is there's more being demanded out of these machines on a day-to-day basis. They're more and more a critical piece of people's businesses, and so you folks have really taken the time to build and design these machines in a way that is going to help facilitate that work, give operators and business owners the confidence to go about that work successfully, and maybe most importantly, you're doing it in a way that's going to ensure their uptime, which is going to allow them to get more done and address this increased demand for work. Have I summed it up pretty well there?
I think that's pretty accurate, Bill. These aren't part-time machines. We know that people who depend on Gehl skid steers and CTLs to work are not part-timers. These machines work all day, every day, and have been designed and tested to step up to that challenge.
And quickly here, Tyler, before we move on, I kind of alluded to it before, but I mean, this machine looks very different than the other two that we have here. Give people a little bit of detail about what this machine is.
So this is our CTL with the site prep package on it. We've really designed this package around guarding and protection throughout the machine, including that demo door that you'll see up front with the polycarbonate side screens in the cab, removing the gridding around the windows to really improve invisibility. And we've even added a winch to the rear here that you can see, which can come in handy from time to time when you're out in those remote locations, working those tough ground conditions.
Not that any of us would ever put a machine in any of those positions, Tyler. We're going to have a special video coming out on this site prep package here soon. But before we move on, I mean, you've got to be excited to get these machines to market. This is a personal passion of yours, this new product line. Anything else that you would share with folks?
Yeah, I mean, I think you said it right. We take this very personally. We're very passionate about the products we develop. I think we take our motto very seriously. We works like you. That slogan means a lot to us. We're serious around here, and we put the level of dedication and craftsmanship into the design of our machines. These are American-built machines with a global team of engineers and designers pitching in their know-how and expertise to develop this new lineup worthy to carry the Gehl badge. So we're really, really excited to bring these to market and go toe-to-toe in a very competitive market.
I love that attitude, Tyler, not backing down from anybody, and why would you when you've got a product line that looks as good as this does and performs as well as it seems to perform. You guys should be really proud of the work that you've done here. Speaking of good attitude, good craftsmanship, we've got Marvin Joels joining us here for the live Q&A in just a few moments. We'll also be joined by David Hunsley, the engineering manager here at Gehl for skid steers and CTLs. And Mr. Nathan Ryan is going to come back and join us as well. If you haven't put your questions in, get them in now, and we will take them after this short break, where we're going to show you each of the 5 new models being introduced now by Gehl, and a few of those key operating capacities that set these machines apart from other large frame loaders on the market. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We've got 5 excellent new large frame models from the team here at Gehl. And now is your opportunity to take a run at these guys and ask them every question you've got about these machines. Couple of introductions here as we jump into this next piece of things. Mr. David Hunsley, engineering manager here with Gehl. And Mr. Marvin Joels joining us here live as part of the Q&A. And Marvin, appreciate having you here this afternoon. Before we get into the conversation, just a couple of reminders again. There's the Q&A box here at the bottom of the screen throughout the conversation here. Please drop those questions you have into the Q&A box, and we will answer as many as we can over the course of the next 20-25 minutes or so. And anything that we don't get to, Nathan and David and team will get back to you here after the event. But we can't thank you enough for joining us today. It's good to see a lot of familiar faces here in the event, and we look forward to talking with you more about these machines. Marvin, I want to dig in a little bit deeper with you though first to start off. You know, as I mentioned earlier, we connected, we knew each other, but we connected because you had this great video of you teaching your wife how to operate a Gehl skid steer with the old T-bars. And come to find out, you know, you've been operating Gehl your whole life. What's in your line of work now, when you are looking at a skid steer for the type of work you do, what are some of the key things that are must-haves, you know, not must-buys, but what are the things you really need in capability in a skid steer for your line of work?
Yeah, I think the very first thing probably to start is ease of use. Right, I don't want to be in the skid steer and running the paver, right, and running the dump truck and doing all these things. I need somebody to be able to jump in there and use it. So if we have ease of use, it seems like it's easier to train somebody up, right, on how to use it and how to handle it. So that's the first thing. The second thing, of course, is dependability when you're paving, right? Downtime when you have hot mix on trucks. Downtime is something that's a no-no in the asphalt industry. So we need something really dependable, but also you need it to have the power and the durability for it to do what you ask of it. And when it comes to the asphalt world, sometimes that's digging up concrete, digging up asphalt, switching out the attachments and having it be able to use different attachments for different uses. So those are probably the 3 big things I would think.
And so you're one of the first people that had a more extended opportunity to operate some of these new machines here prior to the launch. You had a V360 that you used for about a month or so here prior to the launch. You gave us kind of your first impressions, but as you look at those key factors for selecting a skid steer for your operation, how did that V360 stack up, and what are some of the things that you think help achieve those pieces you just laid out?
Yeah, so first off, with the ease of use, it really wasn't hard for me to get up to speed on, right? So the control module that sits on the right has all the displays, the pictures. You can kind of gather what you're looking at, what you're doing. And then same thing with the pilot controls. The buttons themselves have the photos of, or the pictures on them, or the logos of what you're looking to do. And once you kind of figured out the operation, you know, we talk about me using the T-handles in the previous years, it starts to become second nature, right? We're just adding a few different things that the newer models have from the older ones that allows me to get ease of use. So that's probably the very first thing that I enjoyed, was that I was able to get in it, even though it's years in front of our 4640 Gehl that we use regularly, and was able just to put it to use right away. We did get to use it on different applications. We actually got to use a cold planer with ours, or a mill, as it's generously called in our industry. And to be honest with you, you kind of had to wonder right away, just because of the way the cab was enclosed and the way the sound was deadened in there. I had it running at speed or at capacity, but once you're able to drop it on the asphalt and move forward, you realize that it was doing its thing, and it worked really well.
You sit in a pretty unique position in the industry here, where not only you operate, you're familiar with the equipment, you run your own business, but then you also, as part of your podcast hosting duties and some of the other media work that you do, you talk to real contractors every day. We've talked about this movement in the industry to bigger, larger machines, greater capabilities. From your perspective, why do you think the industry is saying we need bigger, more powerful skid steers and CTLs?
Well, the process in asphalt removal, application, and just maintenance and different things has changed quite a bit, right? It used to just be, hey, we take it out and we put it back. But now with milling processes, with tar and chips, slurry seals, parking lots being cleaned in-house versus having them swept by sweeping companies, we need larger machines that can do larger things, right? So I think I mentioned in talking that we have to unload materials from some trucks sometimes, and I love my 4640, but it doesn't lift the full thing. I need something that can do it because, as I said, time is money in the asphalt industry, and we're in a seasonal area where we work. The less time that I waste means more time for me to be productive, and of course production means making money.
And as you look at that ability to run the cold planer and other attachments, expanding the utilization of that machine, what benefit is that to small businesses, medium-sized businesses, where you're looking to get the most out of a very significant capital expense that you're adding to your business? Why is that a attachment capability important?
Sure. Yeah, I think the biggest thing is when you're going to invest in something like that, especially in the asphalt industry, we're really hard to change. If it's not broke, don't fix it, right? And for us, if we can get something that we know functions well, does everything that we need it to ask, or everything that we ask of it, and then allows us to attach different things to it that'll give us more flexibility and more capability than this same process that we had before with more options, we're going to probably lean towards that, because a lot of, and I think Nathan and I were talking about it before, a lot of these guys that have the same paver that they've had for 20 years, they keep getting it fixed because that's what they depend on. It's dependable, they know it. And I think when it comes to skid steers as well, or loaders in general, if you can get something that you know is dependable, that you're going to keep around for 10, 20 years or so, it's advantageous to you, because the chances of you having employees that stick around that long, that are familiar with your machines, makes it even easier. If anybody can jump in the machine and they know the processes, it allows you to be more efficient. And you're going to hear me probably chirp on that quite a bit about efficiency in the asphalt industry. We live and die by it.
With that, we're going to jump into some of your questions from home. Don't worry, we're going to hear more from Marvin yet, and some of his experiences here today and as he operated these machines. But I want to get into some of these questions. We're going to kick it off with, I have to imagine, is going to win the award for the person furthest away watching our broadcast today. I want to say hello to Dominicus from Lithuania. And his question, given that he's in Lithuania, it might be pretty obvious here. Will these big frame machines be available in Europe, or is this just for the U.S. market? What do you have to tell Dominicus?
We will be rolling it out globally to our partners and friends in Europe and Asia and South America, everywhere. However, with the large frame loaders, it's a little bit different than other size categories for these machines. Probably 90% of the market for track loaders, large frame track loaders, is in North America. A little bit lower percentage on the wheeled machines, but we aren't forgetting about you guys. We're just going to come a little bit later with the product. We want to get models in inventory in our distribution center in Europe before we launch, so that you guys aren't waiting an extra 3 or 4 months to get machines from the US after we launch in Europe. So stay tuned. We will be coming out in Europe as well as the other areas shortly after we hit production with the US models.
I'm going to phrase this next question just a little bit differently than how it was posed, but I think you'll get the meaning here pretty quick. Other manufacturers, as they've introduced large frame machines, have typically introduced a model or two that are below that 75, 74 horsepower threshold to simplify emissions. Is there a representative of that in this new lineup in terms of engine horsepower and emissions?
There is, Bill. We don't have it on site today. It's probably about a month or two behind on the high horsepower models, but we will be launching a V325 wheeled machine, and that is going to directly replace our current V330 machine. And it's going to give you the benefit of being below the 74 horsepower threshold, so you don't have a lot of the emission stuff to deal with. It's a great machine for moving a lot of material when you don't expect a lot of high performance out of your auxiliary hydraulics and other functions.
But in terms of the rated operating capacity and the shoulder strength of that machine, it's going to be just as strong as other machines of that size.
Yeah, it's exactly the same machine as our 335. We just put the smaller horsepower train from our V275 in it. So every machine has their place, and that one's going to be great for guys that are looking to use a large frame loader, but they don't need that extra power.
We knew that the site prep package, the forestry package, was going to get a lot of eyeballs here today. And great question here from Brock, who wants to know, will you be able to will there be an option to order any unit with that forestry glass side windows and have no grates? I think he's asking, does it have to be the impact resistant glass, or could you order that as it appears there in the standard configuration?
Yeah, you'll be able to order that as a non-required factory option, just like you can on the medium frame loaders today. You can get the clear glass and the impact resistant door.
With the general shift to rubber tracked machines, compact track loaders in the industry, it's interesting that you've got 5 new machines, 3 of which are rubber tired machines. Why did you go with that balance versus introducing more track loaders and fewer rubber tired machines?
So I can take that, and it goes right back to that V325 model. At Gehl, our customers expect high performance out of our machines. And so one of the things we look at when we're looking at a ground up design is the power to weight ratio. And the track loaders are typically quite a bit heavier than wheeled partners or matching machines. And so therefore we started looking at what can we do with a 74 horsepower machine and a large frame track loader. It's possible. You can get a machine, it will do some jobs, but it doesn't meet Gehl's standard for we're going to be the toughest machine in the marketplace. So we just took a pass, and we're going to have 100 horsepower and 114 horsepower large track loaders. We can roll it out on the wheel loader because they consume a little bit less energy. They're not skidding an entire track while they're turning. So that is why we have 3 wheel loaders and 2 skid track loaders.
What model, a couple different versions of this question, but across the 5 machines, what model engines are in these machines?
So the 2 larger loaders, the 335 and the 360, will come with a Deutz turbocharged engine, 100 horsepower for the 330 and 114 for the 365. And then in the 325, that'll have the same Yanmar engine that's in our medium frame loaders at 72 horsepower. So no DEF required for that loader.
Tony Schroffnagel, always good to see you here in the Q&A box here. And there's another version of this question too, so I'm going to kind of combine them into one. Tony's based here in Lemira, Wisconsin, but as you look at how these machines are going to roll out, are there going to be opportunities for people to test drive and operate these, and when do we anticipate seeing these starting to show up on dealer lots throughout North America?
So right now we're targeting production start as far as cutting parts as early as the end of September, with assembly in October, and I would hope to see the machines out on dealers' lots, hopefully at Thanksgiving or shortly after.
We got a gentleman here who is after Marvin's heart here, but I'm interested to see in these new machines, how this is addressed. Brandon would like to know, is there any chance of getting T-handles as an option on these new large frame machines?
I'd love to tell you yes, Bill. I know it was the original ISO joystick, one-handed drive, and it was simple, direct connect to your pump. It's basically unstoppable. But we come to a point now where you're buying a $70,000 piece of equipment, and just like your trucks and cars no longer have mechanical steering, we have to transition. You get the same functionality out of ISO joystick. It's just a little bit interface difference for your interface to your hand. So I'd love to be able to tell you yes, but right now there just doesn't seem to be a big enough need to actually have a different interface with the same outcome as a joystick.
Yeah, it's not that bad, to be honest with you. Like your brain adjusts really quick, and I actually found it better. You know, our 4640s, almost a classic T-handle, but I found the interface or the joystick options, the pilot controls, actually better, right? Because everything was kind of at my fingertips, and well, I had it for almost a month, and by week 2, it was almost second nature.
To that point, and this is, I grew up on H pattern. Bob Chung here maybe did as well. He'd like to know, is a dual hand kit available for these units, or when would it be?
That should be coming very shortly. If not by the time we're in production with these, it would be very, very shortly after that. We've had one in the works for quite a while. We've proven our design. Right now we're just stocking up parts to get ready to start building it.
So another question here. So the ISO is still pilot versus EH. Want to talk a little bit about the decision to go with pilot controls here, and whether EH was considered or is going to be an option in the future?
Certainly, Bill, because we get hit with this a lot. We're one of a few remaining manufacturers that still offer pilot controlled controls for the track loader and skid loader. And every bit of voice of customer feedback that we've gotten is it is the preferred control method. And I've worked at other OEMs, and I've been in development projects for EH controls. Pilot controls is always a benchmark. We're always comparing the EH to see is it good as the pilot controls. And if that's always your benchmark, you're never gonna achieve 100% because pilot controls are your 100%. Now, there are some trade-offs coming with technology. You're starting to see more features built into machines, like return to dig functionality, bucket shakers, kick out. So as customers start to utilize some of that heavier technology, then we start to have to evaluate whether they want an EH option, not so much for the EH controls, but for the joystick, for the features that it brings them in addition to the EH controls. And I don't know if you have any experience operating both side by side.
No, not really. Yeah, the T-handles, and I have had the dual controls, right? Like he's asking about before. I've operated other things besides the Gehl, right? To be honest, but I think it honestly comes down to preference. And if you give yourself enough time with either control set, it becomes second nature. It's when you switch between a bunch fairly often that you catch yourself a little bit in hesitation and things getting a little less smooth. But I think it's just repetitive of whatever you're going to be comfortable or whatever you're going to be in that situation. Usually proves that given enough time, you actually prefer what you're around the most. So if you stick to pilot controls for a while, all of a sudden these things are nice.
Adam Zielinski here, and he's picking up the theme on going bigger, stronger, more powerful machines. Are you going to go after the larger markets again? Heavy, wet snow in the Northeast pushes customers into the 4,000 ROC machines, and most want a 4,500 pound ROC track loader. Customers love the old V400, especially in the stone quarries and the winter snow market. How would you guys address that, and just what is the approach to that higher capacity machine, and how do you think this new line helps address some of those specific applications that Adam brings up?
Well, As far as V400 or V420 goes, you won't find a bigger fan than myself. At Gehl, we pretty much had it as a point of pride. We probably carried the model a little bit longer than we should have because sadly, small telehandlers became more compact, can lift the same amount, lift it even higher, and then of course the erosion to the track loader market. So the large wheeled machine, I would say we're probably not going to see a 4,000 pound wheel machine again. For the track loaders, it is something we continue to monitor because we've seen a lot of competition launch those super large, borderline dozer type track loaders, and it's something we're monitoring. We're also checking with our customer base that see if that would be a good fit. Just with any of our new development, you know, we have to evaluate all of the opportunities out there and pick the one that suits our customers the best.
These applications we're talking about, and those were a couple of good of additional examples between the stone quarries. We're talking about using mulchers, cold planers, heavy duty work. We've got a question here about what type of testing and regimen are these things put through before Gehl brings them to market?
So we have multiple test sites. We one in Madison, South Dakota, and one here in West Bend, Wisconsin. And then we use a lot of users throughout the region, so we cover different areas to get the loaders in different test unique situations. Thousands of hours we put on the loaders before we go to market. We take that field time and then we apply those field uses to lab tests. So here in West Bend, which Marvin got a chance to see, we have very high-end lab testing to check the heat rejection performance of the machines, structural testing where we do multiple FEA versions, finite element analysis of the loaders, and then repeat that test in the lab. Just a lot of hours that we put on the loaders before they go to market. I don't know if Marvin, if you want to add to the facility that you've seen today when you walk through.
The amount of reps that they tell me that the tests, like each small component goes through, I was like, who makes up that number? Because it was just an astronomical number, and the pressure that is put under it, I can't imagine that actually be taking place in the field. And the answer was, well, we do that so that we know what it is capable of, right? And I can't imagine any scenario that they test here that we're not going to encounter out in the field, or that would be even worse in the field, because they really put them through their paces here. You ask, you know, what kind of tests going on? The tests are going on right now. Like they're in there in the machines being monitored by diodes and everything else. It was really, really cool to see. And there's one that's going through there right now through 7 million reps, a bracket. I don't even know gym bros that do 7 million reps. So this is going to be pretty interesting to see when that thing finally does crack, or how it ever does. It's an amazing thing to see, and that's a question that we always go through, right? As contractors, for sure, of how do they know this is going to work? How do we get to this point? And it's through the extensive testing, which I've been able to see here today at Gehl's facility.
Yeah, you guys are using some big words. I heard diodes. You used finite. I'm not even going to try to repeat it. Long story short, Gehl beats the heck out of them, and by the time they come to market, you're fairly confident that they're going to be able to stand up against those harsh conditions. Another question about snow. How do you see these machines working with a fairly large snow push in snow removal applications?
For one, the skid steers are very well balanced. It was very important for us to keep a balanced machine, so 60-40 split. So with the proper tires, you should have plenty of traction to push snow. And then same with the track loaders. They're balanced even better than the skids, and you can get all winter, all season tracks to put on there. That gives you plenty of grip.
Well, I moved recycled asphalt with it, right? Piles of it in bucketfuls, and it acted like it wasn't even there. It was like it was an empty bucket when it was completely full. So I can't imagine that snow functions too much differently than that. Obviously some wet snow, but if it can move a mountain of crushed asphalt, I can't imagine why I wouldn't be able to do a good snow push here in Wisconsin, for sure.
Thank you all so much for joining us. We've taken an hour of your time here. We're going to ask just a couple more questions, and we'll let you get back on with your day. A couple of different questions about the door and the door options. I'm going to kind of roll those into one question. On the Ideal Access door, has the horizontal line where it hinges, has that changed or been cleaned up a bit? And then what are the other door options other than the Ideal Access door?
Sure. So we were talking about this a little bit at lunch, and we know that some of the competitors offer impact doors in addition to their traditional glass doors, but I think we're the only company that gives you as many options for a door as we do. And the reason of that is we knew the fold-up door was an innovative concept that maybe some people that are really stuck in their ways are going to take some time to adapt to. Dealers typically tell us it takes about a full day of operating it before it's second nature. They have no problems running it and they enjoy it. And of the machines that leave our facilities with cabs, about 90% of them go with that fold-up door because it is such a great design and so reliable and gives you so many advantages over a traditional swing-out door. But like I said, some people are stuck in their ways, so we offer a swing-out door. And then additionally, you can pick a impact-resistant swing-out door as well for your real harsh applications. So we cover all the bases, whether you're accustomed to what you have or have been familiar with in the past, or if you're willing to try something that's really an innovative, productive feature.
We talked during the walk-around about the changes and enhancements that have been made to the undercarriage. As we know, on any tracked machine, so much of your lifetime owning and operating costs are wrapped up in that undercarriage in one way, shape, or form. Theoretically, and this gets down to the question, how much longer of a lifespan of sprockets should be in comparison to an older machine like the RT215 or just older designs in general? Have we quantified or thought about how much greater service or lifespan that the new design will be able to potentially give operators?
You know, I don't know that we've looked at it for the sprocket. The model you mentioned, RT215, also utilized IdealTrax, so I'm not sure there'd be a big difference in sprocket wear. We have kind of estimated that the IdealTrax system extends the track life by about 15%. But when it comes to the sprockets, I don't know if we've really quantified the difference.
Probably the biggest difference between this new undercarriage and the old is the double front idler that we have, which will increase your wear life on the tracks and the idlers of the undercarriage itself. So because the higher loads up to 3,800 pounds with counterweights, rated load, you know, you have that all that weight up on that front idler. Now you have two flanges of support instead of the single.
And in addition to that, that's going to help prevent detracking, and just overall you're going to have greater uptime and smoother ride.
Yes.
And let's not forget about another benefit of doing that. Where our previous system might have had a single front idler and a dual rear idler, you had additional parts that your dealer had to stock to be able to completely redo a undercarriage. So we've reduced that now, so you need one idler, one sprocket, and one roller, obviously in different quantities to upgrade or repair a undercarriage, but it's a reduction in the number of parts required, so less stocking for our dealers.
Last question here before I get to one that'll wrap it up here. What has Gehl done to help customers and operators diagnose problems faster? I think they're asking about any remote diagnostic capabilities or diagnostic capabilities with these machines.
And you want to talk to that, or?
Well, the easiest way is through our display. Now we'll give you the service codes that you can diagnose, and any engine codes or any issues that's going on with the machine. You can see that right on the display. And then with our complete diagnosis through the ECU and the MCU, the little computers on the loader, you can tap into those and see what's going on live.
And then I don't want to waste this opportunity of having Marvin here, and I think this is a good way to wrap it up. Marvin, you got a chance to tour R&D. You saw the museum here in West Bend, again, very close to where Gehl was founded. As you've had a chance to talk to these guys today and see a little bit behind the curtain, what questions do you have for these guys about either the machine that you were able to demo or just in general as a business owner and operator about Gehl equipment and what the future holds for these machines?
Yeah, I think I was fortunate enough to tour the museum inside and see the history of Gehl, right, from where it started here in West Bend. And I think the main thing is Gehl's reputation, especially in the asphalt industry, has always been the same thing that I expect from that 4640. I can depend on it. I know that I can get the parts for it. I know it's going to do what I ask of it. And you kind of get a little bit, we live in an age where we talk about, emission controls now, EV, bigger capacity, all these different features. For us in the asphalt industry, as I always say, can we still expect and keep expecting that same reputation that we've had from Gehl for the last 30, 40 years in the asphalt industry when it comes to what the loaders will deliver?
Yes, we definitely, your feedback doesn't fall on deaf ears. We hear it a lot. Keep it simple, keep it reliable. That's why we have some of the accelerated testing that we do in our R&D facility that surpasses some of the testing the competitors do. Obviously, the more features you include, the more susceptible they are to failing in the field. So it's a very delicate balance of not going too far with the features. We're not Mercedes-Benz car here.
Sure.
We're trying to be an off-road piece of equipment that is reliable, gives you the functionality you need to do your job, but doesn't introduce a lot of bells and whistles that are just going to be another point that could fail while you're working.
Yeah.
So.
And David, when it comes to if something does fail on that thing, whatever I'm using that's Gehl's machine, just in our hometown we have a Gehl dealership. Am I still going to be able to get it taken care of quickly if I have one of these machines so that I can get back up? I might have hot mix asphalt on the truck and this thing go down. What can I do? Like, am I still going to have that through my dealer network? That kind of dependability.
Yeah, absolutely. Dealers will be there and they'll have the parts you need. One unique thing about our large frame loaders is they use 60% of the same parts that are already in that medium frame loader.
Perfect.
So everything's been a redesigned ground up. So we kept everything simple, common, carried designs through. That makes our life easier for testing because we get to test multiple parts multiple times. And then, those parts will be available for you at the...
Have me back out on the road, literally.
Right.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
What I hear is a conversation about legacy and commitment and making sure that people are able to keep their businesses up and running, the uptime on their machines, which equates to profitability. It helps make sure that the animals are being fed at the end of the day. It helps make sure that the work is getting done, and that's what Gehl has always been about, the work. And this new lineup of 5 large frame skid steers and CTLs from Gehl is going to help you do that work bigger, better, and maybe stronger and more efficiently than ever before. Thank you all so much for taking more than an hour here to go through these new machines with us. If we didn't get to your questions here today, the team will get back to you after the event, and we look forward to getting these machines into a Gehl dealer near you, and for you to see the great design and engineering work that has gone into these machines. Marvin, thank you for your time, sir. Nathan, David, Tyler, thank you for your time, and thank you again at home. Have a great afternoon. We will talk to you soon. Thank you again for joining us for this exciting launch from Gehl. Have a good night.